the JBR Podcast.
Wake up and check it out.
Where music and life connects. Let's go.
We got Aaron Levy here from CIVL Radio.
Yeah, CIVL. I say Canadian Independent Valley Radio, Civil Radio, CIVL FM, and soon to be CIVL FM 1, which will be what the official call sign is of our Chilliwack 92.3 FM frequency.
Oh, that's pretty cool, man. So are you the program director there? Is that what you're like? Is there an official title, or how does that all work?
I was hired in 2010 as the station manager, and today my official title is the executive director of the nonprofit corporation, which is the UFV Campus and Community Radio Society.
Very cool, very cool. And you just finished? Did you just finish a show or something? I think.
Yeah, I was on air 3 to 5 is my slot for I Live Here Now every Wednesday, and I have a co-host, Cameron Houck, who is with me pretty much every week. And when I'm not there, he's the main host. He's the only host. So yeah, nice. We did that from 3 to 5 today. Played some music at the end, did some housekeeping, and here I am.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. So like we met from, what was it, the Fraser Valley Music Awards, because you run that. So I want to let everyone know all you're doing. So you got the radio station, and I'm assuming it's just a variety of different shows that people. I think Cora was doing a blues show there. I don't know if she still does it.
Cora Price was hosting the Boogity Shoe Blues Show for several years. It was created by Chuck Anger, who he would have passed away about a year and change before we met, before we started the Fraser Valley Music Awards. But yeah, that was a blues program that was going on for a long time. We've had a program called the DeLong John Blues Review that has other Fraser Valley Blues Society members. So Cora and Cora's partner Bill have been big parts of the Fraser Valley Blues Society, driving it for years, at least a decade since I've been aware of them, or just about a decade now. And Gord DeLong, Greg Keffer, John Henderson are some folk locally who have been involved with the Fraser Valley Blues Society. They've been hosting their show, the DeLong John Blues Review, for about 10 years as well. They just stopped doing new episodes recently. So if there's anybody out there in the community that wants to bring in some new content of blues, we're looking for show hosts always. And yeah, you're right. Exactly what you said about different shows doing their different things. That is my job, is to provide the environment for, do the recruitment and training and supervision of any community member who wants to learn about, follow the rules, and then make content 1-2 hours a week, or however we can get creative with it. But yeah, volunteers coming here, you don't have to have any experience or skills. We will take you through. We do about 6 hours of training for each new volunteer intake, and 2 hours of that is tech training. And that's the structured orientation side of it. So if somebody wants, they take that 6 hours and the 2 hours of tech training, and they don't feel comfortable to put their own radio show together. That's where myself, our project manager, Miyako right now, and other staff are there to help people put together content. Imagine you want to start a podcast and it feels daunting to do it on your own. All the technical pieces, the equipment, learning about how to do a good podcast, all those pieces, we have it built in. We have a website. It'll podcast. You can RSS stream from our website. We're streaming live 24 hours a day. We have archives, and we have the studio here and the people to support you to do that work. So whomever it is, if it's blues, if it's if it's embroidery, if you're into pong, beer pong or otherwise, we're here to help you talk about that on the radio.
So it's kind of like an anything goes, and that's the CIVL.ca website. Is that?
Yes, sir.
That's the one people can go to.
When you got involved in the Fraser Valley Music Awards in 2016, that website, the CIVL.ca website, was it was very out of date. And so we updated it in 2020, our CIVL.ca website, and now we have a partner website. If you're interested in the Fraser Valley Music Awards, you can go to fvma.civl.ca, and all the archives of the last 8 years of Fraser Valley Music Awards are there.
No, I think that's totally cool, man, because that's one of the reasons I got into this podcast was, obviously I'm entrenched in the blues world and things, but I want to kind of break out, past that. So I've got, some country guys coming on the show and put some feelers out to, I don't care what genre it is, or, like yourself, dealing with radio stations, trying to keep the music alive, whatever the music is, right? I think that's cool. I did not know that like anybody could just reach out to you guys and, work their way towards getting some education and possibly getting their own radio show or podcast, or that's pretty fucking cool. Like I had no idea.
We're the only community radio station in the Valley. I'm from Ontario. I grew up in Toronto, Kitchener, London, Hamilton, St. Catharines, all these Kingston, all these communities have a campus radio station or a community radio station in Ontario. And there happens to be no community radio. In Vancouver, they have Co-op Radio downtown at Main and Hastings there. They got UBC's CITR is 101.9, a 100-year-old radio station that's supported by the UBC Student Society, the Alma Mater Society. SFU has had a radio station, CJSF, since about 2004. It's been broadcasting on FM. UVic has one. VIU has one in Nanaimo. We share a frequency, 101.7. But between Burnaby, SFU, and Kamloops and Nelson, there's not another campus community radio station other than CIVL. So from the Port Mann Bridge to Kamloops or to Nelson, if you're going straight east, we're the only campus community radio station that exists. There's stations in Salmon Arm, there's stations in Williams Lake, Prince George. There should be one in every community in the country. But until CIVL was created 22-something years ago now and went on FM 15 years ago or so, there wasn't any in the Fraser Valley. The million-person community that isn't Vancouver in British Columbia.
Yeah, that's wild. When you said SFU, I had a radio show at SFU.
Okay.
It was just too far to drive to for me, but it was like a Wednesday evening. I'm in Maple Ridge, yeah. But driving that way, you can go 10 kilometers and take an hour in traffic, right? So it's it's nuts. Coming your way from Maple Ridge is, much more manageable than...
Used to be. I don't know. You seen the highway between...
Fair enough. I work from home now, right? And most of the time when I go out to a gig, there's no traffic on the roads. But yeah, it can get pretty crazy out there, for sure.
But yeah, that's the model. So we are the CJSF of UFV. Basically, their station manager, Magnus, is a guy who I would say I would try to mold myself after. Somebody who worked at UVic at their radio station and then built the SFU radio station. And, he manages our earshot charts, the national countdown top 20, top 50 of national of music that gets played on campus community radio stations every week. He built the website, manages the back end, and makes sure that we're reporting and logging charts for artists. There's a blues chart, there's an international chart, there's a folk chart, there's a hip hop chart, top 10s for all those, and then there's just the general top 50 every month and top 30s every week from every station. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I remember having to fill those out every now and then when I'd go in and, they'd be doing...
You do your log sheet, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And then the music director goes through your log sheet.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while since I did that. What would you say for music? So people just watching this right now, they can reach out, go to the site, maybe they can come volunteer, learn some stuff, kind of get involved. What would you say for musicians? Because you deal with like a lot of different things. You got that, what is it called there? The Jam and Jubilee that you're doing, the music awards, like you're dipping into like so many different things to, keep stuff alive. And I think it's great because a lot of my audience come out to live shows. They know the musicians, they know the front end of this. So I've been getting a lot of feedback where they're like, wow, I never knew the industry kind of worked that way. And I always say, like, a guy like me that plays whatever genre it is, it's guys like yourself and other people like Cora and whatnot that are out there that like really make things happen. So what would you say for, musicians that want to kind of, get their stuff out there or get involved too?
I mean, that's what organizations like ours exist for. There's the music side and the talk side of a radio station, right? If you're not listening to campus or community radio, and you are listening to radio, the music that you're hearing is music that is inaccessible to you as an artist, unless your name is, Garth or somebody who's very close to him, right? Only the top of the top are going to be on the radio, on commercial radio. Sorry, yep. Everybody loves Taylor Swift. Family, friends, everybody loves Taylor Swift. But there's only one Taylor Swift. And, in the face of that, to call it an industry locally is maybe an overstatement, right? You're talking about Cora. You're talking about, we've been very quiet. Outside of Jam and Jubilee, our music director, so when you met me at a time where my home was a music venue. In 2016 until 2020, the Carport Manor was the only place between Calgary and Vancouver that a touring artist could play at or could book and find a local band. It was the only consistent spot. We did 200 shows in Abbotsford between 2016 and 2020 until the pandemic. And I say that only to say that, Cora doing blues at the Eagles Hall, us and like isolated other initiatives are the only ways that an artist could play. To me, as far as call me, message me. I know there are going to be some one-offs. There are going to be some shows, some promoters, some venues, but tell me somebody who's done 2 years of every week booking events. From Surrey or Maple Ridge, like the Wolf Bar, God bless the Wolf Bar. Only place. The Wolf Bar in Maple Ridge, I don't know what it's like today, and I've never actually, maybe I saw one show there. Sorry, I haven't made it out. But I know what the schedule looks like for the Valley. And there are no other places. Captain's Cabin, got to reflect, got to represent, got to appreciate the Captain's Cabin and the work that Oak from Old News Vintage and Vinyl has done there to promote shows. But I just explained to you the places. I don't know, James, tell me if I'm missing some. But and those places, if I'm calling up from Winnipeg, from Brandon, from Montreal, and I'm looking to play near Vancouver between my Calgary and Vancouver gigs, I'm probably not finding out about any of the places I just mentioned, right? So that all of that is to say that without Cora doing the Eagles Hall shows, what we were doing CIVL Radio at the time, and little one-off efforts here, there's very little going on in the region. We benefit from these festivals, the Fort Langley Festival. I'm not sure what's going on in every community necessarily. In Abbotsford, we have Jam and Jubilee. There's the Mission Folk Fest. Our music director, Stephen Munga at CIVL Radio, books Jam and Jubilee, which is 4 days, every Thursday in July in Abbotsford. We do the Fraser Valley Music Awards there. Stephen books Canada Day for the city of Abbotsford. And there are only so many other opportunities for local musicians to play live. James, God bless, you're lucky. You are a highly talented technical musician, right? You know how to play your instrument. And you're the kind of guy, if you showed up and the crowd was different, you would not be rocking so hard as you'd be Black Orpheusing, right? You have the skills and the catalog to be able to appease to many different audiences. Unless you have a space that's built for live music, you need that. And not everybody does. You go in with your set, you're ready to play your set. And that should be okay. And that should be okay, and that should be encouraged. And there should be spaces where artists can do that. Do you remember Jazzy? Junie's Jazz in Langley? There used to be a little jam there.
I never went, but yeah.
Jazzy Jones.
I'd heard about it, yeah.
So there are a couple places like this where there's some jams. But as far as the industry, and CIVL never provided this. I provided personally a space where people could come play, and we could collect $200 to $500 of cover and disperse it against the to the bands with no cost to them, where there was a built-in audience at Carport Manor where people would want to come. But there need to be venues like this in the Valley, and there are none. And part of it is, you know, we're a very discerning audience these days compared to the mid 90s, early 2000s, where you'd go grab a drink and see whatever there was. Now, you know, a venue is very wary of putting on newer artists. Again, James, you probably feel like nobody wants to hear blues, or like, you know, it's a tough sell, right? Like, oh, but who's going to book me here? Well, they want Michael Bublé piano covers or whatever you think, or maybe you feel like they want, you know, dance DJs all the time. And unless you're doing those popular mainstream, the hip hop, and even in hip hop, unless you're at a certain level, it's not like any random club wants an up and coming hip hop artist, right? Nobody wants to take these chances. And it stops us from building community where people are willing to experience new types of music, or are willing to, you know, I think there should be a place for several different guitar players in a couple different communities to be going back and forth saying, Tuesdays we got James Buddy Rogers, Wednesday we've got Arson, you know, Thursday we've got, you know, R.I.P. Harp Dog. Those places are few and far between around here. So as a radio station, what are we supposed to do as a community radio station? We're supposed to be covering the local arts and culture, not the Taylor Swift stop in Vancouver, which only happens once a year, right? In and of itself. But we got to cover and be involved in local arts and culture, which, you know, I always say, one of the most successful local Abbotsford musicians from before my time, Stephen O'Shea from You Say Party. They won a Much Music Video Award once, and were nominated for Polaris Prize shortlists. But he said, he quotes former Abbotsford Mayor George Ferguson and says, here, I don't know how you feel about Langley, Surrey, Maple Ridge, but in Abbotsford, the only culture we want is agriculture. So that's what I know about the region here, and it makes it a challenge. So yeah, I appreciate, James, I appreciate you participating. I appreciate you showing love and respect. You know, I don't know if you were counting down, but it was probably about, 90 seconds after you sent me that message to come on this podcast that I said, I'd love to. Thank you so much. It's an honor you're thinking of me. Because CIVL is doing what I know needs to be done to support art and culture. Obviously, you're engaging to the best of your ability and in the most, like you're talking about, the most varied of ways. And all I can say is that, the choras, the artists, the Fraser Valley Blues Society, they're doing their work. What we would really benefit from is a little more infrastructure. You know, in Abbotsford, they don't even have a dance club anymore. They just shut it down. There is no dance club in Abbotsford anymore.
Yeah, and I try, my day gig is marketing. And, I've always said, the music business is music and business. And a lot of musicians that I deal with, they get the music part, but the business part is very tough. And you get the business part of it. And I think it's important for people to know, because there's so many that are going to agree with what you said. They're going to go, fuck, this is so cool. These guys are supporting the local region. And the Taylor Swifts and the big names, pop stars and all that stuff are great. They show up once a year, but support the local scene. And I think what downstream would bring back more places to play and more opportunities and things that you're doing is more support from people. People in a world of tech, it's tough because a lot of people just go, I'll just stream it on Spotify, or I'll, watch a YouTube video of it. But getting out there and supporting, if the venues start to see that support, they're going to want it more.
And that's a tough sell, right? Because the way to get people in one space together is...
I think can you hear me? I just lost your audio. I can't hear you anymore. Hold on, I'm just going to cut the connection here and then let's see. What did you change your microphone or?
I think I pulled out my iPod, my AirPods earlier, and I found they were dead. And so I've just been flicking them. And it looks like they weren't dead. So it caught it and switched me. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no. No worries, man. That's all good. It's all good. I can't even remember what we were at there. Yeah, support.
So I was talking about festivals. What I think gets most people out is, the big festivals.
Yeah.
That's the way to get most people in one place at one time, because it's just the biggest party anybody can expect, can look forward to, and everybody can have their own festival that they go to. Their one festival of summer, and that's how people are consuming culture now. That and at the movie theaters, and so to get people excited about music, honestly, I wonder if it's ever going to happen again in the way that it used to, like that you could have a Greenwich Village scene, or maybe it's the Bob Dylan, the Chelsea Hotel. These communities of musicians that we're familiar with, that became kind of the cultural leaders in the 20th century. That's not the way the 21st century is going to work, I don't think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And technology's kind of pivoted it all. I think, like, when I do play a fair bit and playing a fair bit more these days, and I found, like, when I was playing in the 90s, I was playing all the time. And back then, every venue I played at had their own clientele. They had that culture, like you're saying. So if I went and played a venue and it was packed on a Friday and I played across the street on Saturday, that venue wouldn't be empty. Everybody didn't follow me to the other place. They're like, hey, we'll catch you next time you're back here. And the Yale, I was just talking to Joe Luciak because I was trying to get him on the show, and his family, and he grew up in the Yale, and so got a bit of history there. And that venue specifically had a culture. People went there and they almost didn't even care who was there. Yes, it was blues, but there was like Roosters, which was the country cabarets, and people didn't give a shit what band was there. They go, we know it's going to be a good band. It's going to be a fucking party. Let's just go have a good time.
You show up where your people are going to be. And look, in the 90s, we couldn't just look at the Facebook group, right?
Exactly.
You couldn't text somebody you could call.
Yeah.
You could call if you remember.
Beep them on the pager.
You couldn't just figure it out. Now people won't go anywhere. I don't know. You got kids, man. I don't know how old they are right now. But if they're not old enough now, they're going to get to the point soon where they're going to know what's happening before they go somewhere. They're not going to check something out.
Yeah.
Nobody
checks
something out anymore. The days of, like, we're going to meet everybody down at the place where we always go because something will occur is not acceptable. No.
Yeah.
No, it's not. We're planning, and it's not just kids. It's all of us. It's mature people. We're planning our stories. We're planning our evenings in advance in order to post our stories to social media later. It just is a completely different environment. So if you're, in marketing, if you can figure out how to get a following and how people, if you're a venue, you need people to think they're going to have the experience at your venue tonight that is going to bring them the post. And so today, to get that post, though, it's got to be a wild experience with all of their friends or somebody famous or something that is going to trend or something that is going to make them seem like they are a trendsetter. And if you're not providing that, your business is going down.
Yeah.
And I think that's almost in every industry. You either need to be essential, like a cell phone bill that we need access to the internet so Rogers will never die, right?
Yeah.
Or you need to be providing experiences.
Yeah.
And that's just, like only the most successful and talented people can.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I remember it was probably 15 years ago, I started working with Tom Lavin at his Pavi studio in Vancouver. And I had this lady from an advertising company come in, and, my oldest two were young at the time. And we got talking about kids, and she was like, every day I'd go home after work and there was all these fingerprints over my TV. And I was like, what the heck is going on, right? And she had like an infant, and it was the kid going up to the TV and trying to swipe the TV.
Like it's a touchpad.
Yeah, and that was like a click for me to go, man, things are different. Like kids at that age are, they're yeah, exactly.
The computer's on the phone now.
Yeah, man, I know. And they say
my dad had to tell me how to boot it up every time and tell him what program to run.
I know. And, while technology's been so great, it's like, it's changed things. And I feel like you probably feel the same way. You're starting to feel like your parents, back in my day, I used to walk both ways to school uphill,
Well,
saying it to your kids.
I've been in the university world for after I graduated university, 15 years now, right? So I've been a steady diet of 18-year-old to 20-some early 20s are the most people the top people I talk to the most every single year, and I continue to get older, right? So I've been feeling like old man Aaron for a good decade and a half now, basically. So it just and look, it's helpful to keep up. I think people should learn from their kids about the media for their own benefit, about the tools in the media, the social media and technology, rather than being afraid of it, scaring the kids about it. Helps you learn about it and how to help the kids grow with it, but also gives you the skills to develop in the world we're in, which every year it gets more and more out of hand. I know I feel it, and I feel like I've done a pretty good job of keeping with the trends, so to speak, in the meantime, right?
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, you would have to for the gig that you're on here, because things pivot so much. If you're not pivoting with them, then things are going to fall apart quick.
At least got to know how to make fun of yourself properly.
So what
no riz.
Yeah, and
no riz.
But you're good at engagement. You put a lot of things together, and you get good turnouts, and you got the young people that are into it playing the other. I know you always want bigger turnouts than you always get, but
always want bigger.
Yeah, for sure. But what things do you have going on now? Like, I know it's the Jam and Jubilee you're doing. That's like a kind of a summertime thing. Do you do anything through the winter months?
So I mean, we do a lot. We don't really host any winter stuff. We partner with all sorts of other groups throughout the year. What we do is we provide services for the most part. All year long, James. As soon as UFV says, Aaron, we need a musician for our Maple Ridge event. Somebody local would be great. I'm contacting James Buddy Rogers. Do you know what I mean? Like that's how. That's year round the clock kind of work for us. Is making connections between community groups and artists, is promoting events, groups, and opportunities, initiatives, and we do sound, right. We bring like low scale DJ services to events, and so we partner mostly with student groups or UFV departments. 3 of our volunteers, UFV was gracious in sponsoring us to pay them to DJ the UFV open house that happened 2 weeks ago here in Abbotsford, to recruit and kind of present UFV to new students, things like that. So all year round, we're involved in work in the background that kind of isn't feature business. Of course, UFV shuts down. If I wanted to get to my office and do work between Christmas and New Year's, it would be a problem and raise alarm bells. It's enough of a schmozzle for volunteers to do their regular weekly programs, in between semesters. So the winter is generally pretty slow for us. But the events that are coming up, like again, Fraser Valley Music Awards, we start doing the promo and preparation for that around March, April. We start planning for Jam and Jubilee around this time, the next couple months. So everything has. If it looks to you like we get great crowds, it's because we started in November, December,
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, and honestly, it's committee work. People say, when do you get started, or who's involved and how? It's volunteer committee work. There's a few staff who get paid a little bit of money to do this work, and they have a long runway for the most part. And when they don't, that's incumbent on me and the other staff members, Eileen, at the Abbotsford Arts Council, who is responsible for Jam and Jubilee. We take on, as anybody who works in nonprofits knows, we take on way more work than our job description or hours, or on and on and on. Life is hard and busy, and woe's me, right? But that's just the case in the background, is that's happening all year long. Fraser Valley Music Awards will be the 10th year this year, so we're expecting that in April, at the very beginning of April, we're going to launch a few different things. Just this last week, the Canadian Radio and Television Telecommunications Commission, more broadly known as the CRTC, closed public intervention acceptance of our new frequency. I mentioned the Chilliwack frequencies. So that's been out to the government and the ministry to evaluate, have public comment on. So what's coming up for us is any day now, they may give me a call and say, yo, load that shit up, bro. And then CIVL will be broadcast at 92.3. And I hope they use that language as well. But so that's been, and I don't think that's going to happen for 3 to 6 months, but that's what's coming up. In
Very
order
cool.
to celebrate that, we got a $50,000 grant in 2020. And that was it was the same program that brought us the Fraser Valley Music Awards in the first year in 2016. Different project, which is now to do a video documentary about the 20-year history of civil radio. And so we did most of the shooting for that in the 2021-22 years. And we're planning at the beginning of April with sponsorship from UFV as part of their 50th anniversary celebration. We're going to debut this documentary work we've done.
Cool.
We're going to celebrate the 92.3 FM frequency, and we're going to do call outs for the 10th annual Fraser Valley Music Awards and another $10,170 that we're going to give away to musicians in the Fraser Valley. So that's what's coming up for us over the year. Included in that is I expect another year of Canada Day bookings from Stephen Mungar, music director, another year of Jam and Jubilee in the summer. I'm on the board of directors of Mission Folk Fest, which happens every July, at the very end of July, in Heritage Park in Mission. So I'm involved in that year round. I'm at the board of the Arts Council, who hosts Jam and Jubilee and partners with us for the Fraser Valley Music Awards. And so that's a smattering, so to speak, of like what's coming up for me and us in the next kind of 6 months to just about a year. But yeah. We're lazy in the winter. Sorry.
That's the long-winded way to say you're lazy in the winter. I love it.
Nothing.
That's good. Yeah,
nothing
we do
nothing.
nothing.
James. Sorry. Just waiting on a phone call from some people who work for Justin.
So when to circle back, when you said, if people reach out to you and say, hey, we're looking for an artist here or there, and you kind of go, so do you have like a roster database you pull from, or like if a musician's seeing this now and goes, hey, I want to get in on the loop, I want to, a lot of times it's like if you're not in the good old boys club, then you're always forgotten about. So how does somebody go about say, hey, I'm from Maple Ridge, I don't want you calling James Buddy Rogers, I want you to, call me for that fucking gig. But if, you know what I mean? Like if I've been out there and people know me, then it's just like, you're out of sight, out of mind. So somebody coming up, do they get in touch with you, or what would they do to like become part of that?
And honestly, you asked me a question earlier, and I like a politician neglected or failed to answer it or refused.
I didn't even remember.
But you're saying about musicians getting involved, for sure. Like, we do have a Rolodex of artists, and it's called the Fraser Valley Music Awards, right? If you are a Fraser Valley artist who is a musician, you are eligible for the Fraser Valley Music Awards. It costs $5 a year to apply in any genre as many times as you want, in as many genres with as many different types of music or representations of yourself that you want as an artist, and you then become eligible for the $10,170. People don't win less than $80, or unless they really try to tell people not to vote for them. Everybody gets like $100 at least through the fan vote, the $10,170 that we give away. So, which is just to say it's worth the $5.
Yeah.
The $5 more than anything is just like a barrier, so people can't just like bot their way into being part of the Fraser Valley Music Awards.
Yeah.
But once we are cataloging, essentially, we're cataloging because if you go to the website, fema.civl.ca, you'll see a pull-down tab that allows you off the side to check out every year Fraser Valley Music Awards, which has every category that was voted on that year and every winner. And when you go to every winner, there's a page for that winner with every song they submitted, unless the links are dead. Let us know if you see dead links. And it'll tell you where they're from, what their bio is, the genre, and that is when I get booking calls. That's where I go. I go to the Fraser Valley. I tell partners, Fraser Valley Music Awards. There was a blues category in this year. There was a gospel category that year. Jazz was these years. Go look up what's local. You'll see where they are, how close they are, and if they want me to go look that up, I'll look that up. That is one way that you can just automatically be included. This is where I don't even pick. It's as far as the old boys club goes. I just tell people, hey, here's the Fraser Valley Music Awards. The other day, a commercial radio station in the interior asked, what kind of country artists you got? And I just picked out the Fraser Valley Music Award country art. It's completely anarchic, democratic. You may not like my taste. That's why this is there. I'm not a judge of the Fraser Valley Music Awards either. But the volunteers who engage are. So if you're a musician, I suggest there's no reason not to apply. You're really shooting yourself in the foot. Whatever you thought was the reason, unless your music is private and you don't want to share it yet, you should be applying every year in different multiple genres. Number two is, and the last thing about the Fraser Valley Music Awards is we do automatically archive. If you make your submissions to the Fraser Valley Music Awards on our website, we're entering those into our Fraser Valley Music Awards rotation folder for our on-air broadcast. So, James, I listen to your music weekly because it just comes up in rotation.
My condolences.
It's better than some. Trust me, it's better than some. And what I really appreciate as a broadcaster about your music, James, you know what I'm going to say here?
No, I have no idea what you're going to say.
Barely, if ever, any swearing.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Well, in the blues they get sensitive.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I got the fucking blues. The motherfucking blues.
You might be onto something there.
I got tracks in the bag. And so that's one way to get on air as a musician with CIVL Radio. Is if you're a Fraser Valley Music Award nominee, then your music will automatically get played on CIVL Radio. But of course, I mentioned Stephen Munger, our music director. And he's the person who actually does the curating of any music, because he is the person that if you email music@civl.ca, his job is to curate what music goes into our library. So we're a commercial corporate music director at whatever Rogers or Astral or Pattison station. They're going to a corporate platform where the major labels and promoters have paid to have their music serviced to commercial broadcasters. We have access to non-commercial platforms like that function similarly, but also we have a music director who is like, oh, if you said that you were a Surrey, Langley, Maple Ridge, Mission, Abbotsford, Chilliwack, Hope musician, and you said so in your email to me, I automatically was like, oh, okay, as long as this person isn't saying burn down the radio station or the university, I'm likely to connect with this person, and that's what we're here for. I'm not promising that every local artist will get entered into our library and thus played on the radio, but I am saying that you really have to not be ready for Stephen and a music director at a station like this to not be like, oh, an essential local artist who is aware of our radio station and wants to get involved. That is what we exist for. Mm-hmm. And if, that said, we're looking at, I know everybody says my email inbox is full, okay? Stephen's inbox is fuller than yours. Okay, because every single artist from Indonesia, Polynesia, Ukraine, Sweden, like everybody is filling out our comment thing on our website with our bots, and it's legitimate, not even like pretend musicians, but you're a radio station, you get added to all of the kind of lists. People will buy lists of radio stations and contact information. Yep. I once argued with somebody on Facebook because they were like, I've made this list of campus community radio stations. So if you're a local artist, pay me $20 for the list and I'll help you with the list. And I was like, this is free information. Yeah. Why are you charging for this? But it is free. It's out there. And so we get inundated with stuff. All I'm saying is be patient and don't be deterred. Once you apply to the Fraser Valley Music Awards, you're in the system either way.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. I would say. Yeah. And I guess if you want to go further, look at our program schedule on our website, CIVL.ca, schedule or shows. Look at who those hosts are.
and get in touch. Just if you fill out a contact section detail on our website that has the template contact form, and say, I looked into this show. I'm a local artist, musician. I'd like to interview with them. You're going to get an interview with that person unless we don't see the email. And if we don't see the email, then follow up and let us know, because it's our job. And we're not, I know there's lots of people around the world who you're like, you go to the counter and they're like, ugh, you want to buy something?
Yes.
You're not those people. We're here to do our jobs, and we believe in it. So yeah, we want to get you involved.
Yeah, that's I think great for people to know. I know, like, when I released a few albums, and when I was sending to radio stations, we were kind of hitting up like the NPR stations in the States and things like that. And if I didn't have a publicist, I wasn't even getting the time of day, like you say, because some guys wakes up in the morning and he's got like 10,000 emails. It's like, how do you even fucking go through that? It's crazy. And if you have a publicist, the publicist, they'll tell me like, hey, I got a good relationship with these stations. And then, that program director is going, okay, well, I got 8 publicists that sent me 50 albums. I'm going to listen to those 50 albums first, and then I'll go down the list. So it's like almost at the point, like at that level, it's like, doesn't matter how good or bad you are. It's like, if you can afford to get a publicist, you're to the top of the list.
Newsflash. It does, like in life, it does not matter how.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I know. I was thinking
like,
about.
I'm sorry.
No,
Best musicians. I've been around it, man. Like, I'm 40 years old this year, right? Like, I've not done nothing. Okay, I've worked. Like, I've been the doorman or the sound guy or the bouncer or the promoter, or I've opened or whatever. I've been that person for 5,000 shows in my life. And the best artists that I know, you've never heard of, right?
Yeah.
The best musicians, songwriters, guitarists, drummers, you have never heard of them and will never hear of them. So, and you could probably say the same thing to me about, and the more music you've played in your life and with the most different people, probably the more certain you are that that's the case.
Yeah.
The best musicians, nobody else will ever know. Who's Roy Buchanan, right?
Yeah, no, that's it's very true. But again, music's subjective. But that circles back to music,
Totally.
Music and business. And I find a lot of the musicians I know that are exactly what you say. It's like, how the hell are you not like world renowned? They're so good at music, but they're so shitty at the business.
And you know what? But you don't have to be shitty at it. That's the thing. You just have to be not elite.
Yeah, okay, that's a good way to put it.
You know what I mean? Like, you could really hustle and do all these different things. We all know those people in life who try the best, and they're really putting their best foot forward, and they're doing everything, and it isn't happening in the thing they're trying to make happen.
Yeah.
And I think people who have been musicians in that way, you tell me if being a musician hasn't helped you as a marketer, just because you've learned how to take rejection and build on it, right?
Yeah.
'Cause you're not getting rejected because you're not good enough. You're getting rejected because it's just, sorry, I don't need a guy who plays blues music for 2 hours on a Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I think as a musician, it's like, I try to tune out all the positive and all the negative, because if you take the positive and you let it go to your head and you grow an ego, then the negative affects you. So it's kind of you almost get, some people will be like, man, you're a total asshole, like you cold heart bastard. And it's just like, well, I'm numb to the shit because I just, don't care. And thankfully for me, it's like, I'm at a point where I play because I want to, not because I have to. And I try to tell that to younger musicians now, where it's like, do it for the love, because you'll build that community and you'll build that, like you say, you get out there and you experience something in person where people can connect with it, more and they'll enjoy it and go, hey, I'm not going to get this experience if I'm sitting at home on my couch watching a YouTube video on my TV. I got to get out there and be part of it because, that'll come through at some point. If you always try and impress, because you can't be everything to everyone. So you got to pick what you like, because like you say, you're working here and you're probably putting in twice as many hours as you're getting paid for and all these things, right? But you're in it, there's the love of it and, the bigger picture. And you got to think that way from a musician standpoint too, because, you're only on stage for a couple hours a night, and then the rest of the time you're taking shit from everyone and trying to get another gig.
Well, if you're not taking shit on stage too, right?
Well, that too, yeah.
See, who knows who the front man is and what kind of bedside manner he has.
Man,
right?
I remember playing a gig in Terrace, and they fucking threw ashtrays at us and everything. Oh yeah, and
what led to that? Like, come on,
just they didn't like the music. They were like, quit playing that silly blues shit. Yeah, they threw some ashtrays and there were some fights. This was probably mid-90s. And I remember a guy come up and he was like, hey, man, do you guys know how to play Far Away? And I was playing with Russell Jackson at the time, and he looks over and he goes, no, I don't know that song. And I said, Russell, he said, I don't think that's a song. He just wanted us to play.
Can you play Far Away? That's a good one.
Yeah, I know. And I've never forgot it. You got to use that one.
I would like to use it.
Yeah, you should.
I would like to bring it up in an appropriate way.
Yeah, you'll think of something.
I'll try.
Yeah, I don't know. No, it's good. I love what you're doing there. That's why I reached out to you to do this, because, I want to, I got a bit of a following here and people dig it. And, I think it's good if people start to get connected with what happens behind the scenes and the movers that really make things happen and give the opportunities for guys like me to go, oh, you got an award. Yeah, that's great. Or you got a nomination. That's all good. But do you realize there's like a network of people that literally, like, when these awards end tonight, tomorrow morning, they start the process for next year? And a lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, and look, that's the story we're going to try and tell in our documentary. That's the purpose of Campus Community Radio, is to make sure that stuff that isn't in the open, it isn't at the top of everybody's mind, is maintained. So I mean, I appreciate the opportunity to come and chat about it. And like I'll also be honest, we can always do a better job, whether it's nonprofits, in the arts, musicians. We can always do a better job of working together and selling ourselves. And so, I mean, yeah, that's something in the Valley. Like I say, I complain about the infrastructure, but I think there's something to be said about, the people who do what we do, doing more together. And
that's why you're good at what you do, though, because enough's never enough. You always want it to be better. When you get to the point where you're like, hey, it's the best it's going to be, then it's never going to progress from there. Right. So,
ambition is a cruel mistress.
It sure is. But I appreciate you taking the time to come on here for it. And I'll also throw it out there too, because I'm looking to expand the pod and talk with other people. So, if you got other people that want to talk, or other musicians or things like that, send them my way. I'm going to send people your way, because I know people that want to get involved and say, how can I help out in the industry? And it doesn't have to be the blues world. I like to, it might be what I play, and people kind of stereotype me for it, but like whatever the genres are and shit like that. And, if we can figure something out along the way, if I can help anyway, or you got people that, want to get on a podcast and have it for promo for their site, let me know.
I can blast it out to Fraser Valley Music Award nominees. You know what I mean? And you can make connections that way if you're interested.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely interested.
Offer now to interview.
What's that?
Fraser Valley Music. If you're making an offer now to interview the Fraser Valley Music Award nominees to reach out, then I will just blast it.
Yeah, do it. Fuck it. Send it out to them and blast it. I'll send you a link. I got a little thing on my page where people can kind of sign up, and tell me a bit about who they are and what they're doing.
Cool.
I just like to keep it music focused. So yeah, if they're playing music, then cool. Yeah, we'll get on and I'll get your logos and your shit going on here, and yeah, we'll do it again.
We'll upgrade. I'd love to. Yeah, we'll have a new logo. It won't be 101.7. It'll be 92.3 on the other side. So,
no, I'm excited for that. I don't know a lot on the process, but I will tell you. Probably, my album that got nominated for a Juno, I had a song on there called Dog, DAWG.
Yeah.
And I wrote that tune about a station back in Ottawa called Dog FM. So the Torres brothers, they, had a aviation, whatever marketing thing. I don't know. Maybe they'll quote me on this, but they did this radio station and they went through all that CRTC stuff. And it was going to be at the time a blues station, and I think they put like $500,000 into the station. They got the call letters, they got everything that was going. And I think it was, don't quote me, it was like in Toronto or something. And then they were like, oh no, we're going to put it in Ottawa. We want it more towards here. Then there was like some Francophone issues because there was only so many call letters. Then they pulled it back and it was like, well, wait a minute. We fucking put out like $500,000, $1 million. And now you're going to call these things. So I had seen it, and I didn't know the Torres brothers at the time, and it turned out that the Minister of Heritage was just next to my riding, and I deal with some politics stuff here, and his name was James Moore, and I had sent his campaign office a thing. I said, at the time I was trying to get like Vancouver Blues Society going and getting some things, and I said, this isn't like good. Like, I want to have a meeting with you and go like, how can this happen? And they messaged me back and they said, well, we'd love to have a meeting with you, but it would have to be in Ottawa. I'm thinking that it would be like, okay, well, that's not going to fucking happen. I'm in Maple Ridge. James Moore's in Coquitlam at the time. I got to go to Ottawa, but not realizing like I was in talks with the Torres brothers. So I told them, and they were like, wow, man, for months we've been trying to get a talk with somebody. Like, we'll fly you out. So literally I was doing shows in like Florida at the time, and I had like flown to Toronto and then over to Ottawa, and we went to the capital or whatever you call it here in Canada. I follow U.S. politics way more than Canada, but we went there.
Nothing to do there lately.
Yeah, we went there with like their lawyers and everything, and I sat there and didn't do much. I just kind of, I guess, helped arrange the meeting, and they ended up getting their station. But of course, blues doesn't sell. I'll be the first to admit it. It's never been mainstream. It never will be. You can make a living at it and you fly under the radar your entire career because it's just sustainable at that level, but it's never becomes mainstream. And they kind of shifted things. And I don't even know what they're doing today, but so I feel
you remember the call sign?
It was, I'd have to look it up, man. It's been like 15 years. Probably.
Yeah, I'd be interested. But that's Dog. I've heard that. We play that song.
Yeah.
That's one of the songs.
Yeah, and it was about that situation that I wrote. So I feel your trials and tribulations in terms of like dealing with the CRTC and the ministry and stuff. It's just so bureaucratic. It's insane.
This has literally been a 12-year project. I was working on this before the Fraser Valley Music Awards came into existence. So yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's going to be wild. I'm super stoked. It is my life's work.
Yeah, I'm excited for you, man. I hope you get it. And if anything kind of goes sideways like it did for those guys, I'm happy to scream loud with you. I think you're over it.
It definitely went sideways. This should have been done at least like 13 months ago, 14 months ago. So right now, the sideways,
it's gone.
We've gotten. Nothing's going to stop this. I don't think.
So you're going to do it. You're going to get the call letters. It's just a matter of time at this point.
Well, we got the call letters. What we're getting is a new frequency, and so they're just it's CIVL FM, and that's going to be CIVL FM 1 because it's 92.3 and 101.7. It's gone to public comment. Nobody commented against it. It's rubber stamp time.
Beautiful. I love it. That's awesome, man.
Well, we'll have you back. And if you want, we can talk about abridging JBR Podcast to CIVL Radio.
Sure, let's do it.
We just need AI to scrub the swears. That's really the only thing.
Yeah. I don't normally do that in my post, but some things I do if they're going to be too controversial. My next podcast coming out this Friday has a 4-second bleep in it, but we'll figure something out. But let's talk offline for sure. We can do something where we help each other out. And if any of the people you're working with want to be on a podcast and gain some experience in whatever, like I'd be happy to have them on.
That's great. Yeah, I'll put out the feelers for sure.
Sounds good, buddy. Well, we'll let you go and enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you to the original buddy.
Cheers.